special edition of Racer TV. The Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort in Michigan has set up a beautiful motocross track essentially on the front lawn. And it's brought out a lot of top amateur riders as well as some big name pros for a big purse race. We also had the finale of our ATV National Motocross Championship here earlier. But today we're going to cover the two-wheeled machines. Yeah, the GOATs here, the Babbitt's Amsoil Kawasaki Arena Cross Championship team here. Jake Weimer representing RCH Suzuki, Motorcycle Superstore Suzuki here. Phil Nicoletti on a JGR Yamaha, Nick Way, Kyle Chisholm. Some great riders going to battle it out. Let's check in with a few of the favorites.
What's up, guys? And we're here at the Edge of Summer, the 3rd annual, hanging out. I'm not racing this year, but stoked to be here. It's an awesome event. Last year I came out and had some fun, decided to race, and won. So all in all, it's just an awesome event. You can go out here, race, have a good time with your friends, and make some money, and then head to the casino and hang out. And it's just a good all-around trip to come out and hang out and have a good time.
And let's let Michigan's own Nick Way have a good time with the mic.
Hi, I'm Nick Way. We're out here at the Soaring Eagle Casino for the Edge of Summer Motocross Bonanza. They have an awesome track put together here. I never would have thought growing up that the Soaring Eagle Casino would have sponsored a motocross team, let alone have a dirt bike race, but I'm appreciative of both. It's awesome that they're giving back to the locals here in Michigan and putting on a great event, and also just getting involved in racing itself. It's great. I'm going to race the pro class. There's some vet classes too, which maybe I belong in a little bit more at this point, but I'm out here to have a good time and hang out with friends and family. And like I said, Soaring Eagles put on a great event and couldn't do it without all my sponsors, the Tedder Group, Mafia Moto Crew, Answer, Mandingo, Pickles, El Hole, everybody. Thanks.
And top Jimmy Albertson here with the MotorcycleSuperstore.com Suzuki team. Gonna strap a camera on him and take you for a little ride at this track that's been built here at the casino. You see the dirt, first of all, is great. Some rut's starting to build up. That, of course, was helped by Mother Nature. We've had a lot of rain throughout the build-up to this event. The dirt pretty soft. And remember, we do have amateurs and mini cyclists out here, so they can't make a full-on gnarly supercross layout. Most of the riders seem pretty happy with the jumps they do have, and the soil giving some great traction. Speed it up here for Jimmy. Get a little on-off into a rhythm lane. 180 left. This is a big one here. But you see the tabletop landing a little bit safer. The amateur riders want to try to huck that. And the whoops that will be coming up on are a little bit cut down as well from what these riders would experience in a typical supercross. But it should be enough to provide some separation and areas to pass. See Jimmy tripling into this corner, finding a rut. Here's the whoops. Hug the inside, actually drifted to the middle over the finish line jump. And that's a lap. Ricky Carmichael is here along with his daughter, who's of course Soaring Eagle, big sponsor of his Ricky Carmichael Carey Hart Suzuki team. Also an adaptive class out here for riders with upper and lower body and paralysis injuries. Steve Howe there on the 38. Affectionately known as Nub. Mounster Mike Schultz, former X Games medalist. Good to see the adaptive riders getting their chance to perform. Show the fans what they can do. Now on to the night show. Let's get to the action. Heat race. Kyle Cunningham going to grab the whole shot here on the 45. Daniel Herline, an outstanding rider in a 250 Supercross East, right there behind him on the 83. Cunningham on the Motorcycle Superstore Suzuki starting to get away. This guy has scored podiums, Supercross and Motocross Outdoors, so he knows what he's doing and begins to pull away. Good to see Cunningham riding well on a 450. The few times we've ever seen the Texan on a 450, he's been quite effective. I like to call him the Las Vegas assassin when he gets to the hard-packed slick tracks on that big bike. He rides it very well. Here showing he can guide it through the ruts. Also, beginning to pull away. Battle, though, begins to brew for second. You've got Gavin Faith, your new Amsoil Arena Cross champion, on the Babbitt Suzuki, trying to catch Herline, and also Nick Way, who we talked to earlier. And they set up a good battle. There's Way on the 27, and then Faith right behind him on the number 3. Trying to go after Herline. Take over second. They would eventually get there. Cunningham just styling up front. Nice crowd gathering. I mean, really, it doesn't get much better than this if you're at the casino hanging out, even if you don't even know a thing about dirt bikes. it's good to come out and catch some of the action. Cunningham wins. Way holds off Faith. Herline and Stankdog. Jared Stanky round out the top 5. We'll go to our second heat race. Jake Weimer on the number 12, trying to get to the inside. He's the representative of the Soaring Eagle Jimmy John's RCH Suzuki team. You can see Weimer back in action after an arm injury this summer. But it's Darren Durham. East Coast is toast. Yeah, Durham has great style on the Fast House Yamaha, getting away early on, back by the viewing, which is a cool sight that he has with some great video clips. And Durham has always had great style and talent. Hasn't had near the results he has wanted in the last few years due to some injuries, but riding very well here. Weimer would eventually get to him to put some pressure on, and Nicoletti you see coming on strong from third, try to make it a 3-rider duel. Nicoletti on the 34, putting some heat on Weimer. So Weimer knows he's got to go. And he does. Going to be on the inside for this right-hander. Durham has him blocked, you'd think, but he drifts a little too far wide. And just like that, Weimer into the lead on his Suzuki. Rubbing wheels now on him is Durham, but you got to watch out for Filthy Phil back there in third. He can get around Durham. He can maybe make a run at Weimer. Takes too long to make that pass. Weimer starts to pull away, establishing himself as a favorite going into the main event. Weimer's been there, done that. Former 250 Supercross champion, factory Kawasaki rider, now on the Soaring Eagle Jimmy John Suzuki takes the win. A couple other classes we'll highlight as part of our pro night, our 50 senior main event. Braden Johnson getting out front. Hard to negotiate those ruts on a 50. Challenge coming from the outside. Riley Clapp, but Braden would take it back from him and try to check out. Look at this style, clearing some of the jumps out here. Again, a phenomenal job building a track that works for the 50s as well as for the pros. Now it's Connor Rosiak on the vintage Grant Langston style 111 KTM, making moves. Look at Riley Clapp saying, no, coming back through the rhythm lane. Braden Johnson continued to pull away. Quick look over the left shoulder there, make sure he has it in control. Great experience for these kids to come out and race at night in front of a pretty good crowd. They deal with the ruts and jumps formed for the bigger bikes. And maybe Braden Johnson will be one to watch in the future of this sport as he takes the 50 main event win. Tucker Harkins, a good ride for second. Supermini main event. We're rolling toward the bigger bikes. And it was Michigan's own Jace Kessler getting the early lead on the 51, but watch Carter Bees on the 43 outside, triple-double to take over the lead. And he was absolutely flying out there, literally, the Wisconsin native getting away from everyone else. So great ride by Bees, who was stinging the competition. Kessler doing his best to keep him in sight. A pair of Husqvarna riders. Look at that ride by Bees through the rhythm lane again. Christopher Blackmer, another Michigan rider, was all alone in third for most of this one on a KTM. But it was all about the Huskies. Bees. Yeah, I love the way those two-strokes sound in the Super Mini division. That's pretty much all we have these days for two-strokes up front. And Bees riding a pretty mature race, not trying to pull away in bunches over Kessler. Battle coming in behind. Cole Harkins, Gatlin Coombs, and Carter Bees. Your leader here has a brother, Jordan, who's trying to fight his way into the top 5 as well. So the Bees boys trying to take home some cheese here to Wisconsin, are riding well in this Super Mini final. Carter's got this one locked in and pulling away from Kessler, who's a solid second throughout. And good experience for these riders, events like this and the Ricky Carmichael Daytona Supercross, giving them an idea of what a Supercross type track would be like. There's top 5. Kessler holds on for second. 250 Amateur All-Star. This is a class that is catching on as of late in a variety of amateur races. And I can tell you out of all the stars, the fans here have one in particular they are rooting for. It is Michigan's own Joey Crown, looking to be, wait for it, crowned the king here of Amateur All-Star Division. Kid gained some experience racing up in Canada a bit this summer, and Crown has been a amateur standout for quite some time, going all the way back to the mini cycles, and not too shabby on the 250F as he begins to pull away. Tanner Stack was second early and then came under some pressure. Tanner Ward, TJ Albright, and a couple of other riders got into the mix. But I also want to give a shout out to Carter Bees, who came back after winning that Supermini main and ran 6th here on the 250F. There's Ward, Tanner Ward on the KTM 2nd place. I believe he's a Canadian rider. Exchange rate works the same. Friendly border over here from Windsor. Come on down to Michigan and get to mix it up with top American amateurs. Joey Crown, well, he did some racing up in Canada himself, so I guess it's all fair. Going back, and speaking of chasing, TJ Albright here on a Yamaha up to 3rd, going to try to challenge Tanner Ward for 2nd, as Crown makes all of Michigan proud by continuing to pull away. So the battle would come down to Ward and Albright for 2nd. That was a good one, as Crown wheelies away. And a lot of folks in this area wondering where Crown is headed next. There were some rumors maybe of a full factory ride up in Canada for 2017. Maybe he could return to the amateur ranks here in the US. Maybe do both. Rules do allow for that. You see some rain starting to come down now. Kids from Michigan, I'm sure they've ridden in this plenty of times. He shrugs that off, keeps on rolling. I think actually one of the only problems to deal with would be the lights reflecting off of the raindrops to make vision a little bit difficult, but you couldn't tell. Crown kept riding hard. There he is taking the win. Ward holds off Albright. Stack finishes 4th. Vet Pro main event. And you could actually argue this was the most star-studded class of all. Whole shot to the familiar number 9 of Ivan Tedesco, and the left side of your screen, that is Ricky Carmichael on the familiar number 4. So it's 2016 now, but it's his factory Suzuki of 2006. Battling in this one, Tedesco, who still rides and tests for the Soaring Eagle Jimmy John's team. Man, he still knows how to ride. Good to see Hot Sauce here. An all-time fighter. Came out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Not necessarily a hotbed of racing, but turned himself into one heck of a pro rider with plenty of championships. A 250 National Motocross Championship and 2 250 Supercross titles, a couple of victorious Motocross of Nations appearances, and he's going to try to add this Soaring Eagle crown to his mantle as well. Carmichael coming through, getting around John Gruey on the 70, the ageless 50-plus John Gruey, a favorite here in Michigan. And Michigan's Todd DeHoop there in the Honda has to yield to Carmichael, but DeHoop, a former 125, what is now 250 Supercross champ in his own right, and still rides quite a bit, keeping Carmichael honest. It was actually a good battle for 2nd with DeHoop, but RC would eventually make this pass stick. But the fans certainly had something to cheer about while Tedesco continued to wheel away out front. Nice ride by DeHoop. Yeah, I don't care where it is, a national, a Supercross, you don't get the chance to see Tedesco and Carmichael do battle anywhere else except here at the Soaring Eagle Edge of Summer Motocross. So big thanks to RCH Suzuki for bringing their boys out. Tedesco paddling his way through those ruts, which started to harden up after all that rain earlier in the week, and even a little bit there that you saw come down in the All-Star race. And a lap to go. Tedesco still has it plenty fast. Vet riders around the country lucky that he doesn't show up at these things more often. And Ivan showing the boss, Ricky, who co-owns that team. Yeah, keep me on as a test rider. Obviously, I'm still really fast. And these two have been friends and worked together for a long, long time. And good to see them both up on the podium. Again, shout out to D-Hoop. The ageless Gruey, another great ride for 4th. And Dan Petrie, top 5. So now the stage is set for our Open Pro main event after those heat races. Durham going to try to nail the start, but watch the inside. Filthy Phil sneaking away with it and then taking everyone in the hay bales to make sure he has the pass stuck, and he takes the lead. Durham second, Weimer quickly to third, and the stage is set. Some big money on the line here, so Phil's gonna go for it, and I can tell you, he treats that money with care. He gets it, it will go into the bank account. He does not want anyone, any store, any online service, anyone that could possibly take that money away from him. He's not gonna spend it. And he certainly doesn't want to give it to Durham or Weimer or anyone else in this field. And Phil is always good with starts, which makes him very dangerous on this type of track. Looks like Durham and Weimer settling in with a great battle for second. It's Chisholm and Faith coming through next. Chisholm on the Rocky Mountain ATV MC number 11 Honda. Faith on the Babbitt's Monster Amsoil Kawasaki. Whoa, Phil, hold on to that thing. Catches the leg on a hay bale trying to hug the inside. And Phil knows how to send it in the early laps, but Durham is not letting him off the hook. But Filthy has been racing all of Lucas Oil Pro Motocross throughout the summer. I would say that endurance-wise, he should have an edge on Durham and Weimer, who did not race the Nationals. So we'll see as this race goes on if they're able to continue, keep the gap manageable. Oh, Phil throwing the NFAB Auto Trader Monster Energy JGR Yamaha sideways. It looks like Nicoletti has figured it out. No reason to pull away by feet or yards here. Just try to inch away. It's going to be hard for these riders to pass him, so as long as he can keep a bit of a gap, the main thing is to just avoid the big crash or mistake. Man, he's got feet off the pegs again. Now dragging the leg back. Okay, no need to make it pretty right now. He just wants to get the money. And remember how treacherous this track is with the intermittent rain. I would imagine the traction is hard to find out there. Look at Cunningham trying to bring it on Faith. More money for each position, so these privateer guys, you know they're gonna dig for it. Weimer wants to get Durham. Lap starting to click off. Weimer, I would imagine, getting a little bit frustrated because he knows the battle with Durham is a good one, but look at the distance that Nicoletti has begun to pull on them. Want to give a shout out, by the way, to all the folks at Redbud, the Ritchie family, the famous July 4th weekend national. That's a great track all year round with some great amateur events. The Ritchies are the ones that really put this one together, and that's why the track is so good. That's why the riders like it so much. Can't say those folks don't know what they're doing. Tim and Amy Ritchie, a first-class event here. And a shout out to the late Gene Ritchie, who passed this year, the founder of Redbud. I'm sure he'd be proud of this track as well and what his kids have put together as you watch a 45 of Cunningham continue to make a charge. A couple battles to watch. Nicoletti is solid out front. Continues to be a fight for second, but Durham and Weimer. Oh, no, the battles have joined each other. Now that Cunningham has made a couple of passes, here he comes. We might have a three-way duel for second. Cunningham might be the fastest rider on the track right now. And I think Weimer is getting impatient, gonna try to take the inside, and he does. Second place finally from Durham. Is there time for Weimer to make a run on your leader, Filthy Phil? Well, he is trying some different lines and a pretty good pace. Now the battle for the podium is on. Cunningham versus Durham. Nicoletti threw down a 1:41 lap time earlier. Now that Weimer has clear racetrack in second, he threw down a 1:41. Same time as Nicoletti's best, down to the 1,000th of a second. That's how close they are on speed. Weimer's taking a 5-second gap down to 4, but he needs more than that. Whoa, here's that battle for third. Cunningham takes it away from Durham. Durham going to try to get him back. That's for the podium. 1 lap to go. And look, Weimer is still not that far out front. And you know the Texan, Cunningham, is going to keep digging. And he has to because Durham is right there. A look over from Cunningham to make sure he has Durham covered. Nicoletti, meanwhile, is looking for the big payday. About 10 grand, I think. Track builder Randy Poulter opened up the track a little more this year, made it a little bit faster, a little less supercrossy, whatever it is, it seems to fit Nicoletti's style. And Filthy Phil, generally a grumpy character. I will be curious to see if he can actually be happy with himself for once, because he appears to be headed for victory. Look at Cunningham trying to keep the heat on the 12 of Weimer, not giving up on the Motorcycle Superstore Suzuki. Cross-rutted coming out of that corner because he's pushing so hard. Checkered flag is out. Nicoletti wins it. Here we are on the podium. Cunningham third, Durham and Chisholm round out the top 5.
Yeah, it was good. It obviously came down to a start, and our Joe Gibbs racing bikes have been good all year off the starts. So I kind of jacked up my heat race, but I knew what I had to do to execute it for the main event, and we did that and put in a good 8 solid laps and had a little bit of a gap the last 2 laps and just kind of cruised it on home. So very thankful for this event. Not many places you can make this amount of money just for 15 minutes of racing. So yeah, super happy, and I'm glad I came, and you'll send me back next year.
Well, on a track where we knew it would come down to the start, it's hard to bet against Filthy Phil, who's one of the greatest starters in the business. You can tell these guys had a good time, and we're glad they came out. And we want to thank Soaring Eagle Casino and everyone at Redbud for putting a great event together. And thank you for watching on Racer TV.